What if someone told you they were from the year 2036, and they had the receipts to prove it? That's exactly what happened in the early 2000s. On a quiet corner of the internet, buried within the threads of obscure message boards, a mysterious figure appeared. He called himself John Titor. He didn't just claim to be a time traveler, he explained it in excruciating, captivating detail. Titor said he was a soldier from the year 2036, sent back in time on a government mission. His goal? To retrieve a seemingly outdated piece of technology, the IBM 5100 computer, originally released in 1975. Why that machine? Because according to Titor, it had a little-known capability, the ability to read and translate code between different systems, a feature crucial to fixing a looming computer crisis in his time. Here's the kicker. That hidden feature? It was real. Known only to a handful of engineers and deep tech insiders, it wasn't public knowledge at the time. His posts sparked endless debates, drawing in tech enthusiasts, conspiracy theorists, and skeptics alike. Was he a brilliant hoaxer, or something else entirely? Over 2 decades later, the legend of John Titor still lingers, leaving one lingering question: what if he was telling the truth? Titor posted images of his so-called C204 gravity distortion unit, a device he claimed enabled time travel. He included diagrams of its inner workings, complete with detailed technical specs and operational procedures for time displacement. According to him, the device was installed in a 1967 Chevy Corvette, modified for temporal navigation. But it didn't stop at blueprints and gadgets. Titor issued warnings. He predicted a second American Civil War, beginning with civil unrest in the early 2000s, fueled by growing political division and government overreach. According to his timeline, this internal conflict would pave the way for a larger global catastrophe, a third world war in the 2010s, culminating in nuclear exchanges and the collapse of major cities. He spoke of a resurgent Russia, the spread of mad cow disease, the breakdown of global alliances, and a future shaped by constant conflict and technological upheaval. Even more unsettling, he referenced technologies and scientific theories, quantum computing, multiverse interpretations, predictive AI, that back then seemed like science fiction. And here's the twist. Some of it kinda happened. Not exactly as he described, but eerily close enough to keep the conspiracy alive. And the mystery of John Titor very much unsolved. John Titor, the enigmatic time traveler who appeared on internet forums in the early 2000s, described events that many now see as eerily predictive. Years before the Ukraine-Russia conflict dominated global headlines, he spoke of rising tensions between the two nations, hinting at a future shaped by regional instability and geopolitical upheaval. His commentary also extended to the United States, where he predicted internal civil unrest, something not far removed from the polarization, protests, and political divisions that unfolded throughout the 2010s and into the 2020s. Titor's warnings weren't limited to political strife. He referenced the growth of a surveillance state, where privacy would be increasingly eroded by digital monitoring. He also alluded to the rise of artificial intelligence and a fractured society struggling to adapt to its own technological creations. These themes echo strongly in today's world, as debates over data privacy, AI ethics, and social division dominate public discourse. Yet, the question remains: was Titor truly a time traveler offering a glimpse into our future, or simply an insightful observer who strung together trends that were already in motion? Was he prophetic or just ahead of his time with a series of well-informed guesses? That uncertainty is what keeps the mystery of John Titor alive. Let's talk science for a second, because as wild as time travel sounds, it isn't entirely relegated to science fiction. Thanks to Einstein's theory of relativity, we know that time dilation is a real and measurable phenomenon. The faster you move, especially as you approach the speed of light, the slower time passes for you relative to someone who's stationary. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station, for example, experience time just a tiny bit slower than we do on Earth. And over vast distances and speeds, that effect becomes even more pronounced. Then there's the tantalizing idea of wormholes, hypothetical tunnels in space-time that could, in theory, connect two distant points. If they exist and could be stabilized, they might allow for shortcuts through both space and time. These aren't just sci-fi dreams. They're based on real equations in general relativity. John Titor's alleged time machine, he described it using terminology like Kerr black holes, rotating singularities, and gravitational distortions, all genuine concepts from theoretical physics. What makes this even stranger is that some of the terms and principles he cited were relatively obscure when he mentioned them, but have since gained traction and visibility in legitimate scientific research. Coincidence? Or something more? So that begs the question, was John Titor just a clever physicist with a flair for storytelling, trolling early internet forums for fun? Or was he something, or someone, else entirely? What started as a few cryptic posts turned into a full-blown internet mystery. The investigation into John Titor became its own rabbit hole, drawing in skeptics, believers, and digital detectives alike. Some claimed the whole thing was an elaborate hoax orchestrated by a Florida entertainment lawyer and his brother, a kind of experimental performance art project. Others took a darker view, suggesting Titor was part of a government disinformation campaign, testing public reaction to the idea of time travel disclosure. And then there were the more fringe theories, ones that aged in unexpected ways. Some speculated that artificial intelligence might have been involved, that perhaps Titor wasn't a person at all, but an early test of machine-generated content. Long before ChatGPT, before deepfakes, before AI became part of everyday life. Yet, every time someone tried to debunk the story entirely, new fragments emerged. More clues, more contradictions. It was as if the whole thing was engineered to live in a perpetual state of uncertainty, just believable enough to spark curiosity, just mysterious enough to keep us guessing. Even now, more than 2 decades later, the name John Titor refuses to fade into internet obscurity. He still pops up in forums, podcasts, documentaries, a ghost in the machine of early internet lore. His archived posts, they're studied like digital scripture. People comb through them line by line, hunting for hidden meanings and uncanny parallels, and strangely enough, they keep finding them. Small consistencies, subtle echoes, bits of his so-called future that eerily line up with the world we're living in now. So here's the real question. Even if John Titor was just a hoax, why did so many of his predictions feel like truth in disguise? Maybe he wasn't a time traveler at all. Maybe he was just really good at recognizing patterns, spotting trends the rest of us missed. Or maybe he wasn't trying to tell us what would happen, but what could. A glimpse of a possible timeline. Drop your theories in the comments. We're going full deep dive into every angle. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the edge of science, time, and the downright strange. Because if you don't, your future self might just come back to do it for you.